Now it's time to flush out some of the instance methods we need for our project, right? So on each one of our proxies, we kind of treat videos a little bit differently. Technically, they're the same, but how we're actually going to render things out is going to be a little bit different. So for example, in the movie proxy, what we want is we actually want to grab the movie itself, so whatever that might be, and then let's go ahead and say pass for a moment. And then we also want to grab the clips that are related to it. So get clips. And what would that end up being? Okay, so first and foremost, the movie itself, well, we wanted to treat that as the video, right? So that's going to be our movie. So we'll go ahead and just return that. And we'll say self.video. And then the clips could be self.videos.all, but we still want the order, right? So we created an entire through model for that, and that's the playlist item. So that's what we'll use, is the playlist item for our order. So this would then be self.playlist item set.all. Okay, so now I have the ability to get both of these things. But one of the questions we should be asking ourselves is whether or not these videos are actually published. Okay, so before I go any further on the proxy models, let's go ahead and take a look at our video models. Okay, so we have the query set to check whether or not they're published, but one of the things we don't have is this is published property. Well, that one's incorrect. We do not want self.active as our published method. This is just something we probably overlooked earlier. So what we want to do now is update this so it is correct. So first and foremost, we're going to go ahead and say the state equals to self.state. And if state equals to publish option dot choices dot draft right there, or rather publish options dot draft, if those are equal, then naturally we're going to go ahead and return false, right? And then if state equals to that it is under publish, then we want to check the timestamp. So the pub timestamp equals to self.publish timestamp. And we'll also want to use now, which is timezone.now, right? So just like we did up here. And then if pub timestamp is none, then return false. In some cases, it will be none, right? Otherwise, then we'll go ahead and return that is pub timestamp less than or equal to now. And then finally, we'll go ahead and just return false. Okay, so really, this is the only block that I really need here. I don't actually need to check whether or not it's a draft. I really just need to check on whether or not it's published. So I'll go ahead and just do that. Okay. So essentially what I'm saying here is I can do, if it's not equal to that, I can return false, and then otherwise doing all of these things here, or just blocking that back, just like that. Easy enough. Okay. And this timezone.now doesn't need to be calculated unless pub timestamp is not none. Great. So this now should give me a better representation of what's going on with the video. So let's go into the admin and let's make sure our server is running. And I got an unindent error here. Yes. Here we go. So we save that and we refresh. Great. So video 1 looks like we had a state of published and it did everything necessary. Video 2, it is at false now, where it was at true because it is technically active. So we can go ahead and save that. You know, another thing we might want to add in here in this is published is say that if self.active is false, then we'll go ahead and return false. Right, so right off the bat, active can be that overriding trigger as to whatever is going on with this particular video. Okay, great. So now that I've got this, I do want to keep in mind that I am going to want to test this. I didn't test it up until this point, but I definitely want to. So that also means then I'm going to go ahead and grab this test published test case or test published case, and we'll go ahead and bring this in here. This time now, I'm going to say the object is equal to that filter dot first, and now we just want to assert true that the object is published. Okay, so I'll do the same thing with my draft case, and again obj and dot first, and assert not true, and that's obj dot is published. Okay, so let's go ahead and test that out. So Python manage.py test videos, and we get an error. Assert not true. That should be false. That was silly. Okay, assert false. There we go. Okay, good. So now it's actually the valid item here. I could also test is active and inactive. That's not something I'm going to do. I'll leave it to you if you want. So now that we've got this instance method and it's working correctly, I also want to add in maybe that as a value here, right? So get movie. Well, maybe in this case, I actually want to do get video ID as an instance method on that particular item, right? So this means then anywhere I'm getting the video itself, I should have an instance method on the video to get that ID. And this is going to then be taking into respect of whether or not it's published. So if not self.is published, return none. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and return self.video ID. Okay, so then that means then my get movie ID is literally just going to go based off of the video instance and video ID itself. So of course, also if self.video is none, then we also want to return none. Okay, as we see, none is a valid option in this case. Okay, great. So clips, we also want to do something very similar to this, but in this case, it's going to be based off of published, right? So very similar to our playlist manager. So I'm going to literally copy our playlist manager and bring it down to our video item here. Okay, so playlist item, that is. So playlist manager is going to be now playlist item manager. Playlist query set is now playlist item query set. Bring that here. Okay, so published, all of this is fine, but the actual published is going to be based off of not the state of the playlist item, but it could be based off of two things, actually. It could be based off of the playlist state itself and the video state. So we can actually use both of those things for published. So that means then I'm going to go ahead and copy this and paste it below here. Now we're going to go ahead and say the playlist underscore underscore state, 2 underscores, and then playlist published timestamp, playlist state. Oh, actually, these should be video state and video published timestamp. Cool. So this will now give me the ability to then come back into my movies and get my clips and do dot published. Okay. So again, this is for getting the movie ID, get movie ID to render movie for users, right? That's the main reason that we have these methods here. So get clips to render clips for users, right? Thus requiring them to be published. Cool. So does that mean that we need to do something similar for this? Well, yeah. In this case, notice that I have seasons and playlist set. That actually works fine for the TV show itself. So I also might have a clip or a trailer for those things as well. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the clips and get movie ID for the TV show proxy as well. I'm probably not going to actually implement and use these things, but this time I'm going to go ahead and say get TV show video ID and then get clips. Same. We can absolutely use clips on the TV show proxy. In fact, I'm going to change this back to just get video ID So get main video ID. Okay. So you might be thinking, well, it's possible that I'm actually going to be using this over and over again, and I probably will. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll up to my actual playlist itself and add these items on there. Okay. So get main video ID to render video for users, and then get clips to render clips for users. Okay. Cool. So that now means that my TV show proxy has access to those things. It also has access to seasons, which are in the turn a list of playlists, which would also have those things. And then my TV show season proxy, not actually any different, but this one is going to actually be the season itself. So this time I'm going to go ahead and declare instead of calling them clips, I'm going to call these my actual shows, right? And I could have a season trailer, so we'll call this I'll call it episodes. So get episodes to render for users. And then I'll go ahead and have a season trailer, get season trailer. And this is going to be my get video ID, as we called it on, or rather, it's going to be this. Wait, what do we call it up here? Let's take a look. And we called it get video ID. So back into my seasons for that trailer. Yeah, cool. Get video ID works. And that actually should work for our movie as well. So we should probably just call this get video ID also, because we already have that method on the main playlist model. Get clips. Well, we have get clips already as well. So we can get rid of this one. And thus we have a little bit more robust instance methods that explain at least a little bit as to what's going on with any given item, right? So in our templates now, we would call get episodes, get season, and so on. Cool. So those are various video instance methods, as well as some other playlist methods that we needed to run. So let's go ahead and do python manage.py test and just test our whole system, make sure we have no issues. This might take a little bit of time based off of all of the tests that we have. So yeah, cool. 58 tests in 8 seconds. Nothing went bad. Great. Okay. So last word of note is this is why we need to continuously test things, right? So I had that problem with this publish method or this publish property, and it didn't seem like a problem until I was trying to go ahead and implement some of these videos in a way that made sense. So we had to add a bunch of other features just to make sure we had better integrity for the video itself. But if we did this earlier, we may have not had the foresight to think through this problem, which is why you do it later.